Ipsos poll for Euronews finds that Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky and France's Emmanuel Macron are the two most liked European leaders.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken told his Ukrainian counterpart Dmytro Kuleba that Ukraine will become a part of NATO during the NATO summit in Brussels.
Israel has dismissed 2 officers and reprimanded 3 others following a strike which killed 7 foreign aid workers in Gaza.
Ukraine's Prime Minister Volodymyr Zelensky and France's President Emmanuel Macron are the two most liked European leaders, according to an exclusive poll by Ipsos for Euronews. And the two who are most disliked? They are Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orbán and, by a large margin, Russia's President Vladimir Putin. He's most disliked by a massive 79% of those polled. But there are exceptions when broken down at state level. 37% of Bulgarians have a positive opinion of Putin.
Many countries in Central Eastern Europe have been object of very intense, very long attempts by the Russian state to create, to promote propaganda. And Bulgaria is a clear example of it, even though the Bulgarian state and the Bulgarian government has been extremely able to push back beyond any expectation, I would say.
Among EU leaders, Macron is the one with the biggest fan club. 41% of Europeans have a positive opinion of him. That number climbs to 57% in Romania, but crucially drops to just 28% in his own country. And France is also the place where most people have a negative opinion of Macron, at 62%. Nicoli believes one of the reasons is because Macron is a very recognisable leader.
Yeah, I think he has shown leadership at European level. And it has shown leadership, and he has been able to give a very clear, image of where he would like Europe to go.
Surprisingly, some major EU leaders are not well known. Most of those polled said they don't know enough of Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk, or Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, or Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez to have formed an opinion about any of them.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that Ukraine will become part of NATO. During the NATO summit in Brussels, members of the alliance promised to continue to provide aid for Kyiv. Yet the Secretary General of NATO reconfirmed the alliance does not consider itself directly involved in the war.
We don't have any plans of having any NATO combat troops inside Ukraine. There have been no requests for that. But the Ukrainians are asking for equipment, for ammunition, for weapons, and we are providing that to Ukraine. That doesn't make NATO allies party to the conflict, but we support Ukraine in upholding the right for self-defense.
More explosions were reported in Kharkiv. At least 4 people were killed, 3 of which were rescue service workers. Russian media reported that in the Russian-occupied part of Kherson region, 4 civilians were killed by Ukrainian strikes.
Israel has dismissed 2 officers and reprimanded 3 others over a strike that killed 7 foreign aid workers in Gaza. They are charged with mishandling critical information and violating the army's rules of engagement. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced Israel is taking steps to increase the flow of humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip. In Belgium, the US Secretary of State welcomed Israel's decision to open a new crossing point for humanitarian aid to the Palestinian enclave.
These are positive developments, but the real test is results. And that's what we're looking to see in the coming days and in the coming weeks.
The UN Human Rights Council has adopted a resolution calling for Israel to be held accountable for possible war crimes in the Gaza Strip. It calls for a halt in the sale of arms to Israel and warns of genocide as a result of the war in Gaza, whilst Israel rejects the resolution.
A noisy protest outside Poland's foreign ministry reflects the widespread anger over the killing of a Polish aid worker by Israel in Gaza on Tuesday. Protests came after a meeting between the Polish foreign minister and the Israeli ambassador. Ambassador Yakov Livne was summoned amid a deepening row between the countries over the killing. Livne claimed the reaction by some in Poland as anti-Semitic, which drew a furious reaction from Warsaw. As the row escalated, people held a vigil in Przemysl, the hometown of Damien Sabol, who was among the 7 members of the NGO World Central Kitchen killed when their car was hit by an Israeli missile. President Duda said Israel should pay appropriate compensation to the family of the 35-year-old. Sabol had been working in Gaza for 6 months. Israel has apologized for the airstrike on Sabol's car as it delivered food. It claimed the attack was a case of mistaken identity.
2 men suspected of hitting 2-year-old Serbian girl Danka Ilic with their car and dumping her body in a landfill have been arrested, police said on Thursday. According to the statement, the suspects picked up the girl's body and placed it in the trunk where they kept their tools. The 2 suspects admitted committing the crime and are facing charges of grave murder, said police. The 2 suspects are employees of the local state waterworks company and were on assignment when they hit the girl who walked out of her yard in the eastern town of Bor, said the Interior Minister Bratislav Gazik. But Serbian authorities continue to search for the body of the toddler, who has been missing since last month.
Slovakia will return to the polls this Saturday for a second round of the presidential elections. The duel is between the pro-European diplomat Ivan Korčok, who unexpectedly won the first round with 42.5% of the votes, against Social Democrat Peter Pellegrini, current Speaker of the Parliament and ally of Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico, close to Russia and Hungary. Korčok is expected to gather the votes of people dissatisfied with the government's domestic policies and international isolation. Pellegrini has criticized his rival for putting the interests of the EU above those of Slovakia. Yet, he said that Slovakia's membership in the EU and NATO will not be put into question. A victory for Pellegrini would cement Fico's power by giving him and his allies control of strategic posts. If Korčok wins, a difficult collaboration between the head of state and the executive is expected.
We would prefer to get married in Poland, of course, but it's still impossible. We are in a relationship with each other about 30 years. There are many straight marriages that don't last so long. And in Poland, still it's impossible to recognize our relationship, even as civil partnership.
Mamy swoje prawo rodzinne, mamy swoje wartości społeczne. W tych wartościach społecznych obok tradycyjnego podejścia do rodziny jest również duża swoboda, jeżeli chodzi o szacunek dla tego, kto jak układa swoje życie. W związku z czym właściwie w tej chwili nie mamy w ogóle takiego tematu w debacie.
Jest zapowiedziana w tej chwili nowa ustawa regulująca związki partnerskie tak zwane, więc w tej chwili trwają prace nad wszystkimi rekomendacjami. Tym razem nie będą zarzucone prace nad tą ustawą.
Lionel Messi has joined the fight against climate change. The footballer is collaborating with Join the Planet, a foundation for environmental conservation. They have a single goal: take care of the planet. Messi wants to extend his influence beyond the football field by collecting thousands of tons of plastics from coasts around the world to turn them into a customized sculpture of his historic left boot. The foundation's first initiative will be cleaning the Paraná River in Rosario, Argentina.
We try to identify such actions which are very practical. They can help someone on the ground to bring such solutions to these communities, which put together initiatives that make sense, and they are practical and feasible and implementable.
This 16-year-old activist inspired Messi to join the initiative.
The earth suffers. The world is at a crossroads. We face a crucial choice. Continue as we are, or come together, side by side, to forge a better tomorrow.
It's a legacy for the next generations.
Sumate a Join the Planet y hagamos juntos la jugada para cambiar el planeta.
Get yours in jointheplanet.earth.